Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make Jazzy house like Ber Berlioz. I don't know how to say his name, but it's this guy right
My
here.
speech is free,
And yeah.
free as my feet on this land, free as I am, free as God made me. FREE, free, and that's what it will always be. That's what it will always be. Free.
Okay, so step number one is since Jazzy house is going to be played like at lounges and kind of more like upscale areas, you're going to need to look the part. Okay, now for the actual music stuff. So for Jazzy house, there's going to be three main factors that can drive the song. That's going to be either a guitar, a piano, or a trumpet. For this track, I chose to go for a trumpet because my guitar recording skills are not that good, and I didn't want to spend too much time in the piano. The piano is already kind of complicated as it is, and then for the trumpet, I just got a friend. I asked him if he had any trumpet stuff, and he sent me this, so I just kind of used that for the purposes of this video. Oh yeah, also the tempo is gonna be like 120-ish around that area. Um, you don't want it to be too fast. But anyways, here's the first idea I had for the piano. It was just this. Okay, so this is gonna be a quick tutorial and a bit of theory on how to make this jazzy chords and how to make it sound good. So first, you're gonna get all the music theory you have in your head and just kind of throw that out the window. We don't need that anymore. That's stupid. That's for nerds. Okay, so now let's say we grab a G. All we want to do is make it sound jazzy, right? So we're gonna start adding notes together, and then we're gonna go from there and see what actually sounds good and what doesn't. So this sounds okay. Then once you have like the main three notes, you're just gonna start going up an octave and down an octave to make like the bass and just kind of like that uh, lead resonance sound. I don't know if I said this before, but I don't really know the theory. I just know if it sounds good. So for example, we can go here. And then that's pretty good. It's not gonna be your typical, let's say if we were just to make a normal chord, it would probably just be like, right? Then once you have your chords, all you have to do is kind of start building up the rhythm to it. And yeah, that should be it. Okay, so what made me understand how jazz music works was trying to make my own in the actual piano right here. Okay, so I actually made a whole song, but I'm just gonna play like a part of it so you understand what makes jazz jazz. Stupid, but so as you can see, pretty much this is the C major scale, but I added a G sharp and an E sharp. What makes it jazzy is that you're playing some sharps, but then you play the actual note, and then it shouldn't go together technically. Like speaking music theory wise, that should not happen. I know it happens in some classical music sometimes, where they have like one note that's off and there's a word for it, which I completely forgetting. But the majority of like music theory and a lot of like normal dance music and whatever is not gonna be playing like that because he's gonna stick to the scale and it's just gonna play the notes from that scale. So that's what you want to do. Just get a scale and add some sharps and flats and see what sounds good and what doesn't. And that's pretty much jazz. That was a lot of theory stuff, but it's gonna help you understand how my chord progression started evolving, you know? So we had this that we already played. And then I actually decided to add some notes on top. Like I was saying, once you have like the main chord foundation, you start adding shit, octave up, octave down, and just kind of see like what works. Add notes in between, and then yeah. So I did this, and then we added more notes. So for this part, you could also add technically like an octave down, so it is same bassy vibe like it is here. Um, but we're also trying to play with the rhythm of the piano, so this is why I didn't add the extra bass layers. And then we need it to be actual jazz and actual rhythm. So we go into the actual complicated section, which goes. Okay, so for this part, you're gonna need to play a lot with the sizes. You're gonna play with velocity, so it sounds human. Um, you're gonna play syncopation. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. And then uptime shit. You don't want it to be perfect, especially when you're doing jazz, because jazz is not perfect at all. Adding some notes here, like you can barely listen to them. I'm pretty sure this one specifically, you cannot even tell it's there. See, it's like doo-doo. You can barely tell it's there, but it gives it a bit more of a rhythm. We are also bleeding some notes in because if you're actually playing piano, there's sometimes like it's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna miss some notes. So yeah, the length, you don't really need to mess with this as much. It does make it feel more human, but it's mostly the start. You want it to have some offset. Um, especially for example here, there's some offset. Here, there's some offset here. There's some offset here that makes it that, which is really nice. Like, it's all because of the offset of the notes. That was my main piano melody that I wanted to play with. So we're gonna go into the drums next. We just have a normal kick drum. I didn't want it to be too bassy, and I wanted it to have a bit more of a high end as well, like the little crunch. We have some claps. Then we have some top loops, which this is a ride. And then we have the top like hat part. Okay, and I completely missed this, but there's one more top loop, which is this and other jazz like hat pattern. This one's more housey and this one's more jazz. So if you want to get sound design like this, just go on Splice, look up jazz, and then look up the right part for the jazz. And then if you want for the hi-hats, you can just look up normal house hi-hats, and you can just kind of mix them together, and you get that bouncy feel of house music, plus you get the jazz like actual percussion. For the main song, from all the chords I made, I just got the pattern 2 once that were done, and then I made this pattern 3, which is just a simplified version of it. And then this kind of dark vibe is really good for the intro because we have like the jazz vocal intro. So for the intro, you kind of wanted to build up to the song, and it kind of starts like noir, like Paris vibe, like rainy trench coat, type. So I wanted to have like people speaking in the background, kind of like a lounge, but I didn't have that. I couldn't find a sample like that. And honestly, I wasn't trying to spend too much time on this song. I have a bunch of other projects I need to finish. So I just went for a spoken vocal. I changed the vocal to the key of my song, and the vocal sounds like this.
My speech is free, free as my feet on this land, free as I am, free as God made me.
If you want to look up a vocal like that on Splice, just look up like spoken vocal samples, and then just kind of filter them out. And yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of them like this. You could also sample shit from like TV and whatever, but it's gonna be hard to clear sometimes, or just do your own vocal sample and just process it, but it takes time. And like I said, I did not want to spend too much time making this. This is mostly for a YouTube video. But now that we have the chords, now that we have the sample, we have the intro ready.
My speech is free, free as my feet on this land, free as I am, free as God made me, FREE, free, and that's what it will always be. That's what it will always be. Free.
And then like I said, there's going to be three main factors for making this type of music, either a guitar, a piano, or a trumpet. And I got my friend to send me this trumpet sample stuff. This is what he gave me.
Will always be. That's what it will
But I just wanted to introduce that. I didn't want it to just hit right away. So I did this, kind of builds up into it, and then we have the actual trumpet. Just continue. That together sounds like this.
always be. That's what it will always be. Free.
And I know what you're thinking right now. It sounds empty. How can we fix that? We need the bass, silly. The bass. You need the bass. Bass is three layers. I'm pretty sure this is just a sub. This another sub. I don't know why I have two, but and then I have this velvet bass, which sounds I wanted to get I wanted to have like a real bass sound, but I did the sound design and I think it sounds pretty close. It's not gonna be like an actual bass, but it's the same type of vibe and it's the same type of bounciness. So the pattern goes like this. And if we take it to pattern 2, then you can kind of see that it follows the syncopation of like the main notes that are hitting. Like all this extra stuff you avoid, but the main rhythm of it you keep. That's how I did my bass for this. And this is the drop with the bass. When you're trying to do the sound design for the bass, just try to make it funky and it should sound good. And don't overcomplicate it. As you can see, just go with the rhythm that you did for your piano pattern. Like honestly, when you're making this type of music, I spent all my time doing the piano progression. Like this pattern 2 took me forever to make. Everything else just kind of builds on top of that. Then the song is almost ready. We have this vinyl crack sound effect, which also really helps for the atmosphere.
My speech is free. Free as my feet on.
It's nothing crazy, you know, it's kind of like lo-fi sample. And then I didn't want to make the song too repetitive, so I did some little improv and messed around a little bit with the velocity of it. But this is what I came up with. This is just me fucking riffing in the background. Okay, so when I was actually making this, the original melody was a bit um more put together and a more like legato way. So it was like, but it's not jazzy enough. So once I put it in here, I started messing around with different timings. I just kind of went into like the half step, made it a bit quicker, so it has like the little. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did for this track. I didn't want to spend too much time on this because it's only for a YouTube video as well. But here's some other tips that you can do to make this sound even better. Okay, so for example, I just made this pattern real quick. We're gonna put it in the background and we're just gonna put in this pattern too. So you can add like pads for kind of filling up the mix a bit as well. Then you could always add some extra melodic elements. So now you can just add this little extra melody layer, add it in here. So it's just little background atmospheric stuff that if I really were to make a song like this, I would spend way more time focusing on that to finish creating up the ambience and filling up the the mix. But this is the basics, and this is what you need to know. Everything else is just going to be up to you. So add pads, add one-shots, add risers, add rides, crashes for transitions. So for example, here, so we can just grab one of these, put it in the track. Then little, some of this, some of that. So we can create this, add it here. We're gonna put this down on the mix, so it's already down.
That's what it will always be.
So yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it, like for the little stuff that you're gonna need to add. This is gonna be atmospheric stuff, things that I always talk about. And for that, just use pads, get creative in adding little counter melodies or little accents to your melodies with different sounds. Use other samples. I use the vinyl cracking effect, but you can use like waves, you can use rain, you can use other stuff like that. Use one shots. Get creative with the vocal. For example, this vocal sample didn't have this other part, but I wanted it to be like an accent right before we hit the drop where it just says free. And it was actually quiet because it's part of this. And because here we have the trumpet that's louder, I just kind of raised it up a bit in the mix. So this is with the free.
And that's what it will always be. That's what it will always be. Free.
But if I didn't have that free, it just sounds like this.
And that's what it will always be. That's what it will always be.
Right? The free just kind of creates a little bit more ambience. It makes it a bit better. It kind of creates a little bit of like an anticipation in a way. I don't know. I like it a lot. Just mess around with stuff like that with the samples that you have. For the piano parts, if you're struggling, I would just focus on the basics, on first learning how to make chords and develop from there. Remember, like, this is how my chords first started off. They started off extremely simple, and then they ended up sounding like this. But just start focusing on ideas, make sure that you know how to get that jazzy chord effect, and then start playing with the rhythms, and then start playing with the velocity. The velocity is going to take you fucking forever. If you're making this type of music and you actually, want to make it sound good, you're going to need to spend a lot of time on the automation in the velocity aspect of things because it needs to sound human. If I just grabbed this right now, let me just clone this, and I turns all the velocities to be the same. Dude, is there no faster way to do this? If there's a faster way of doing this, please let me know, because I truly don't know how. Okay, so if I didn't have any of the velocity and automation stuff, it would just sound like this. Right? You can hear everything and it doesn't sound good. But if you're playing with the velocity, you can get it to sound like this. And we have little accents here, let's say more creative ideas for the atmospheric stuff because I really didn't go over that in this video. You can use, instead of making this in the piano, you could just add that with like the little pluck that we used, But that's gonna be it for today's video. I know it wasn't as detailed as the other stuff, but it's because I really didn't want to spend too much time making this project. I have to finish a lot of other projects. I just worked on like 5 different songs last week, and I actually finished 3, and I have to finish 2, like mixing and mastering, and then they should be done. But I was kind of burnt out, and my brain was fried. If you're struggling with your music production and you need help, there's going to be a Google form down below where you can get coaching sessions by me, mixing and mastering by me, or ghost productions by me. So if you're interested in that, just fill that down below. And remember, I'm going to be posting more videos this year. I'm going to be taking YouTube way more seriously. So if you're interested in more videos like this, just go ahead and subscribe. That's going to help me out a lot. And yeah, if there's any other genre that you need me to go over, just leave it down in the comments and I'll get back to you on that. Also, follow me on social media. It's going to little link down below as well.